fuss was about.
Yeah.
I know what all the fuss is about, though, when it comes to 49er coverage with The Athletic. And I was trying to do some math earlier because he came on with me. I always do this every year.
Yeah.
He came on with me the first year of the night show, which was 2006. So that makes it his 19th year covering. Came on with me 2 years before my daughter was born. And she's now in college. Have I told you that?
You have.
The one, the only from The Athletic, back for a 19th season with us, and we're so thankful, Matt Barrows. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm great. What year did I almost succumb on the air? That was during the day. I remember where I was when that happened.
It's us. Hold on, Matt.
Hang on, Matt. It's us. It's on our end.
Chris is doing some things.
He's Matt's laughing.
He's twisting.
What did I ask?
There we go. Now we got
going to go viral.
All right, and for his 19th season, we're so happy to have him back. Matt Barrows. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, guys. How are you?
What were you saying?
You were saying something awesome, weren't you? And now it's not going to be the same.
It's not going to be the same. No. You guys were talking about brisket. However, I apologize for interrupting your brisket discussion.
That was me. Matt, NFL and food go together. And I imagine for you, you have a different NFL Sunday than we do because, you're working and your NFL food is probably generally food in the press box or at the stadium, which leads me to, I guess, my first question. Is there a press box, a stadium, food, whatever that you look forward to every year where you go, oh, I can't wait to eat that?
In New Orleans, they used to serve a gumbo at halftime. That was just delicious. But I seem to recall that hasn't been offered in recent years. Otherwise, I got to say that the Superdome is a terrible stadium. You're up at the very top, right where they are belting out all the air conditioning. And I am not messing with you when I say you have to wear like a scarf and a beanie and a jacket to be up there. It's that cold because they're trying to cool off the whole stadium in the South in September. And you are bearing the brunt of the cold front.
Jason, you're a New Orleans guy.
I know. I was thinking about the gumbo.
Right, me too.
How about Seattle this week, game 1? What's the offering that the Seahawks over the years have?
The Seahawks are known for a woman coming around and taking your coffee order. Like you can order up, the most complex, half calf latte with shots of whatever, and she'll fix it for you. So that's the lure of Seattle.
I don't know if you meant to do that or not. I've heard half calf one other time in my life, and that was Steve Martin's order in LA Story.
Yeah, that's why I did it. Yeah,
that's the hell of a reference, Matt. Wow. That's how we get started. Our San Francisco 49ers debut this weekend. And Matt, as you know, I am a diehard Niner fan. I lead with my heart, not my brain. Am I over worried about the health issues this team has going into the season? Is it much ado about something, but just not as much as I think it is, or am I right?
I think it was alleviated a little bit this week. They had basically a full house at yesterday's so-called bonus practice. But those are the guys on the 53-man roster. Obviously, there are guys not on the 53-man roster, like Brandon Ayuk, who's going to miss the first 4 games, and Demarcus Robinson is going to miss the first 3 games, and Jordan Watkins, their rookie receiver who looks so good in the spring and summer, is going to miss at least 1 game. So those are all wide receivers. That's the problem spot for this team. They bulked up on numbers, but the 2 guys who look to be the starters in Seattle, Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, are the only incumbents. Everybody else is new to the team, or at least new to the 53-man roster. And most of these guys were going to get cut from their squads anyway. So it's not like, they are world beaters out there. So not only are they new, but they're cast-offs as well. So that's sort of the question to begin the season. Can they get over that early season hump where they don't have Ayuk, they don't have Demarcus Robinson, and they've got basically a new cast for Brock Purdy.
Jason, maybe Matt's point, by the way, I just wanted to update you on this because we were talking about this a lot last week. The Seahawks 2.5-point favorites, which surprised you going into the Sunday's game. San Francisco has now completely flipped that. The Niners are now 2.5-point favorites in Seattle. I wonder how much of that has to do with what Matt just said. Yeah,
interesting. So on that end too, Matt, with the light receiver room, at least to begin the year, how much more game planning and scheme, I'm guessing, is Kittle and McCaffrey going to be involved in to start the year?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question I'm wondering too. Kittle has been really good against the Seahawks, especially in Seattle in recent years. And their big free agent signing, and this was sort of, there was a little bit of a joke during the offseason that their biggest free agent signing was a blocking tight end, Luke Farrell. But it does mean that they have the option to play a lot more two tight end stuff. I think I looked it up. They played two tight ends like 7.5% of their offensive snaps last year, which is low for the league and low for them. That was the lowest percentage during the Kyle Shanahan era. And I just think that that's something that this team will do a lot more this year, and you'll probably see that right off the bat in Seattle. I mean, this is a team that has a blocking tight end. They're paying a lot of money to. It has a fullback. That's rare in this league, and their running back room is deeper, certainly than it was a month ago with the addition of Brian Robinson. So, I mean, I think this is a team that's going to want to run the ball a lot and put a lot of bulk on the field. And sort of the beauty of having that bulk on the field is that Juszczyk is a good receiver. Kittle is a very good receiver. So you can still do the Kyle Shanahan, are they going to pass, are they going to run thing, and not really have to lean so heavily on your wide receiver crew.
Is there anybody in that receiver core you could see? Kyle loved Deebo Samuel lining him up in the backfield here and there. Is there anybody you see on that receiving core staff right now that might feature in that type of role at all?
Yeah, Sky Moore, the trade acquisition from the Chiefs. I think that's going to be his role. Now, we saw Jacob Cowing in that role some last year when Deebo Samuel was hurt, but they didn't give Cowing a lot of offensive snaps. So that's the question with Sky Moore is how quickly can he get infused in this offense, and how heavily will they use him? I think that MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's on the practice squad right now. I think that he's going to be elevated for this game in Seattle. He spent the offseason in Seattle, and their offensive coordinator is Clint Kubiak, brother of Clay Kubiak, who's the 49ers offensive coordinator, son of Gary Kubiak, mentor of Kyle Shanahan. My point being that MVS knows this offense really well. So, he's the last guy to join this team, but he's probably ahead of some of the other newcomers when it comes to the offense. He's also a deep threat. I think that Kyle Shanahan always wants to have that deep threat there. That's what Ayuk does. That's what Jordan Watkins was doing before he suffered a high ankle sprain. So I think that MVS is in that role. I would guess that he gets a healthy number of snaps on Sunday.
Matt Barrows joining us from The Athletic, brought to you by Stockton Honda. Matt, I think about this time last year, the Niners were coming off losing the Super Bowl, but there's a lot of expectations that they could be one of the best teams in football again, and obviously injuries and a slow start derailed that. What's the overall thought on what this team could be? We know there's a favorable schedule, at least on paper, but that wasn't a very strong team by the end of the year last year. What's kind of the thought of what the Niners could be this year?
Yeah, at this time last year, when we were doing this show last year, we thought that Christian McCaffrey was going to play in the opener against the Jets, and
right.
He was a late week's scratch, and then everybody knows what happened there. I mean, I don't think that there's any doubt right now that he's going to play against the Seahawks. He looks really good. Kittle looks really good. Nick Bosa looks really good. Fred Warner. So their principals, their stars, they still have star power that matches any team in this league. I think the question with this team is whether that middle class, which is composed of largely really young players, they're leaning heavily on last year's draft class and this year's draft class. Can that group of guys kind of mature throughout the season when the schedule becomes very favorable in the second half? That's when they have their bye. That's when they have the bulk of their home games. I think they start out 6 of their first 9 games are on the road. So there are challenges on the road. They've got Seattle followed by New Orleans right off the bat, 2 of the loudest places. I think the 2 loudest places in the NFL. So that's a big challenge right off the bat. 2 artificial turf
Mm.
games. You know how sensitive the 49ers are about that artificial turf.
Yeah.
They want organic to play on. They don't like the artificial stuff. So there are some challenges early, but my point is that I think this team wants to sort of tread water early, stay around early, and then start making a move late in the season.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joining us. Let's talk about that number 11 pick out of Georgia, Mikael Williams, and how he is lining up across from to the side of Bosa, I should say, the opposite side, and how he's looked in camp and what's fair to expect out of him this year.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. He's looked fine in camp. He missed a lot of camp, though, and he missed some of the spring, too. So he was part of this group of guys that were banged up for a big percentage of the offseason. I don't think that certainly in his first year, he's a 10-sack guy. In fact, I think that most of his pass rush snaps are going to come from the inside. And I think the other, big pass rusher opposite Nick Bosa is going to be Bryce Huff. I think that he's sort of been under hyped, if you will, this offseason. So that's something that I envision when it's an obvious passing down. You could have Bosa and Huff at the edges. Mikael Williams is one of your inside pass rushers, and then one other player. I don't know who that would be, but both he and Yetur Gross-Matos are big-bodied, long defensive ends who can also line up inside. So it just gives the 49ers a little bit of versatility. They have 11 defensive linemen right now on the 53-man roster. That's a lot. And then some of these guys can play both inside and outside. So I think Chris Kasurik is really going to like that on game days. It gives him options. I think only 8 of those 11 will be in uniform on game days. Gross-Matos might not quite be back from a knee injury to play against Seattle. But it's an interesting group. Again, I think it's a group that's going to do better if everybody stays healthy in the second half of the season versus the first.
Matt, on that side too, what's the impact of having Robert Saleh back and any differences to that defense with him returning?
Well, the differences are in the personnel mostly. I do think that this team is going to blitz more than it has in the past. I think that was a complaint last year, is that when they were without Bosa or he was playing injured last year, they really didn't have the personnel to be this, we're just going to rush for defensive lineman type of team. They needed to mix it up and sort of manufacture that pass rush, and they couldn't. It's not something that they spent a lot of time doing in the off season. You just can't, call blitzes and expect to be a really effective blitzing team. They blitzed more, it seems like, in training camp than they have in the past. I just think that the 49ers will be able to do more things under Saleh. And then, Kyle Shanahan's point with Saleh is that, in 2017, he did a rebuild, a bigger rebuild than the one he's doing now when he and Shanahan arrived. And then he did the same thing with the New York Jets. So he's good at, or at least he's well-versed at taking a bad, mediocre defense and making it better.
Matt, the question on everyone's mind, and obviously it's Tuesday before the start of the season. There's a ton of them, but it surrounds the guy behind Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, his workload. They bring in Robinson. They've got Garendo, obviously, but all eyes on CMC. More days behind him than ahead of him, but he's not a geezer by any stretch. It's more about the injury recovery. Where are we at with him as far as workload and being free to run all over the place in week 1?
He looks good right now. He looks like his 2023 self. And remember, the critique from observers that year was that, okay, this guy is doing everything on your offense, but you're leaving him in the game in the fourth quarter. Why is he getting so many extra snaps, unnecessary snaps? And I think that boils down to who the running backs coach is. Bobby Turner doesn't like to take the starter out of the game. Christian McCaffrey doesn't like to come out of the game. But I do think that the 49ers are more conscious of that this year. They have to be. He's approaching 30. They have good depth behind him. Brian Robinson has been a starter in this league. I would be surprised if his workload is even close to what it was in 2023 because of that. So they just have more options. Now, the question, we don't know the answer to this, but I think it's intriguing, is whether they somehow are able to use McCaffrey and Robinson in the same backfield, which they did a little bit right after they traded for McCaffrey back in 22. They had him and Jeff Wilson in the backfield for a couple of games before Jeff Wilson got traded. Robinson's a similar runner to Wilson. So it's possible. That would be, to Jason's point earlier, a way to sort of compensate for your lack of star power at wide receiver.
Jason, sorry, could they slot McCaffrey at all? Do you see that happening?
I mean, he does slot every now and then.
Yeah.
My opinion. Yeah, my opinion is that McCaffrey is, really good against linebackers. That's what you want. Yeah. So you want him on the field. You want the defense to have its base package, and you want McCaffrey going up against a linebacker. If it's obvious that he's going to be a slot receiver, I don't, he's not as good against nickel cornerbacks and safeties like that. So I think that would be a waste. But having him in the backfield and then, run out to the slot, I think is absolutely something that they could do.
Matt, is there any other, there's probably always pressure, but organizational pressure or expectations for Brock Purdy now that, look, he earned it. He's got that bigger contract, but any other kind of pressure on him now that he's paid in a different class?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just comes with the territory. When you make, he was found money right. To this point. He was under promise, over deliver. Now there's a big promise that comes with it. So I think that just comes with everything. I think that's something that might be a storyline early when the receiving core isn't what you want it to be. Does that affect Purdy? Is his quarterback rating lower over the first 3 games? How does the organization handle those critiques? That absolutely could be in the offing. So to me, one of the big storylines this season is maybe the biggest is Ricky Pearsall. Can he be the guy right off the bat? And he's looked good this summer. He has spent a lot of time with Purdy in the off season. But that's a lot of pressure on someone who didn't play a lot as a rookie last year. We just don't know about him, but the organization seems to be leaning on him heavily, certainly in this first part of the season. So if he can, work magic with Pearsall like he did Brandon Ayuk in previous years, I think that's a feather in Brock Purdy's cap, because it shows that it doesn't really matter who the receivers are out there, that he can make it work.
So that's, as we wrap up, that leads perfectly into my last question, which is about Ricky Pearsall. 11 games last year, I think around 400 yards. Oh, and he got shot in the chest.
Oh, by the way,
he got shot in the chest, and he was a rookie. And not that would matter, by the way, if he was a veteran, but my point is, a lot of things happened to Ricky Pearsall last year, and he still managed to somehow cobble together a pretty damn decent rookie season. I don't know why, Matt, but there's this nagging voice in the back of my head that's like, dude, Ricky Pearsall is going to be the clear-cut number one receiver by the end of the year, and we as Niner fans, meaning me and my fellow Niner fans, are maybe underselling how good this kid can be. Do you see a possibility at all of him making that type of leap this year, or am I just, me and my red and gold glasses?
I think the 49ers would be ecstatic about that, and they're hoping for that. The thing with Ricky Pearsall is, we just haven't seen it for any long stretch. But the talent is there. I mean, here's the challenge for Ricky Pearsall. I think that the game plan against him is get a hand on Ricky Pearsall, rough him up, knock him off his route. The question is, okay, is he kind of tough and sturdy enough to be able to adhere to the timing that the Kyle Shanahan offense requires, that he has to have with Brock Purdy, that Brandon Ayuk does so well because they can't get a hand on him. He's so violent in his cuts and things like that. Can Ricky Pearsall duplicate that? And if the answer is yes, then absolutely, I think that he can be the top guy, and that would bring its own set of interesting storylines heading into the offseason. Probably warms us up for a long Ricky Pearsall contract dispute a year from now, or a year and a half from now. But I think the 49ers would love to kind of be in that position to have that so-called problem.
Well, we don't have a problem. We got Matt Barrows with us each and every week, brought to you by Stockton Honda, of course, of The Athletic. And obviously, we also have some friends from The Athletic as well, like Sam Amick, that buoy our coverage year-round. Check out The Athletic. Get yourself a subscription if you don't already. It's cheap. You support great journalism and guys like Matt doing a wonderful job. Matt, welcome back for your 19th year. So far, so good. No health scares on either side. And we hope to have a nice and safe season this year for the 49ers.
Am I going to be this big all year long? I'm gigantic.
That's how we like you, Matt. Yeah. Look at the big brain on Matt coming in, spitting all the knowledge. Have a safe trip up to Seattle. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, brother. Take care. That's Matt Barrows.